Welcome, everybody. Psychic Medium Angelo, joined as always by the Encyclopedia Britannica of Pro Wrestling, the guru who knew, Jeff the Ref Robinson. And this, once again, is Wrestling with the Future. Tonight we have a very special guest. He represents a tag team unlike any you've probably seen. They are the Old School Empire. Representing that team is one half. This is Vinny the Fixxer, Vincent Rosa. Vince, welcome to the show.
How are you? Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show there, Vinny.
We should tell everybody that Vinny's partner, Patch, is tied up with business tonight. He may chime in. We will, of course, add him to the podcast if he does chime in tonight. In the meantime, I think Vince is amply prepared and more than well qualified to answer questions about tag team wrestling and wrestling in general. So, Vince, do you follow the product? Tell me how long you've been a fan and what drew you to this crazy world, the wacky world of wrestling?
Wrestling fan, I don't ever remember a time when I wasn't watching it and following it. I try and digest as much as I can during the week of whatever is available. And if there's nothing new on, I'm scouring old tapes or watching YouTube, just like everybody else.
What do you think of the AEW product? It's a great time to be a fan. There's lots to watch.
There is, and it's also a time to be to pick and choose what you want to watch instead of having to watch only the one brand. So I keep an eye on it, but I don't watch it as much as I probably should because of what it's up against. I'm an NXT guy.
Now, Jeff, I've told you lots about Patch and Vinny the Fixxer, the Old School Empire. So this is your chance, brother. We've been waiting for this a long time.
Well, I got to ask you, I mean, one thing I popped on when he told me about you guys, he was reading down the card and I popped on your name. The Old School Empire. Then he tells me, the gimmick is, two older guys in the wrestling business, blah, blah, blah. How did you guys come up with the name of Old School Empire? I mean, like, that's
the name was given to us. It wasn't ours. In fact, I think there already was an Old School Empire through probably multiple ones, but I believe there was one in the DAWG promotion already, or maybe a few of the guys who had passed through had used it somewhere else. Because I didn't see on a thread of a post that when somebody saw the name and they were like, it's not the Old School Empire, I know, kind of stuff. And I was just like, I was going to comment and I was just like, you know what, that's got to pick and choose your fight. So just let it go. But that's the name, as far as I'm concerned, is all creation of the promoter Jaden or Lawrence Zirconium.
Okay, right. Well, because I know that here in Virginia we had a tag team that was also the Old School Empire, but because of their gimmick was old school, old school base. You know what I mean? Like they were right. The moves.
Yep.
So that was kind of where they were going with it. Now, I'll ask you, how long have you been in the wrestling business there?
I started training at KONG Bundy's Devastation University in 2005.
Wow. So, and we just recently lost Bundy, unfortunately, within the last couple of years. So that'd be pretty hard for you to have lost your mentor at that time. I mean, I'm sure you took that.
As much as any wrestling fan that grew up at that time that knew him from his run, yeah, probably. I mean, as on a personal level, maybe didn't get to converse with him as much as you would want to, but he would come in, sit on the apron, and shoot the shit with the boys. And then every once in a while, when he had a booking, he'd get in a ring and bounce the students around a little bit and go, "Okay, that's all I needed to do." And then we're all standing around smiling. I just got clotheslined by KONG Bundy.
Right. That's what I was going to ask you. Was it more or less like his name attached to the school, and you guys had another trainer?
Yes.
And then he would come in every so often and just kind of evaluate the talent.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I got you. Yeah.
What was it? I got to tell you, it was a loss for New Jersey because Bundy was one of our guys.
Yes.
Yeah.
South Jersey guy.
and several other guys. So we took a big hit there in the last few years, wrestling wise.
Yep.
So it's you're noticeably older than. Oh, I should say I don't want to use that word. I correct that because you are Vinny the Fixxer, and I don't want to get fixed over here. So I will say that you're more mature than some of the guys that you work against. Is that working for you, or is it working against you?
I would say for us, for Patch and myself, because we haven't of the teams that we've come across, all of which were younger. Maybe one of them came across as a little bit more of not seasoned, but most of them are just like they come in, we're the champions, and they go, what do you guys want to do? They give us that first, instead of going, well, this is what we're going to do, this is what we do, which either way I'm fine with, because you're going to call it in the back, but then once you get in the ring, it's like, yeah, I don't think so. The crowd's not buying it. We're going to change things up a little bit. But most of the part, in my career, I've never come across anyone that was, I won't say maybe dickish, as far as like, I'm the guy, you listen to what I'm doing. So I've never like we were talking a little bit earlier, I don't have a lot of the horror stories that guys have.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Vin, talking about old school, and Jeff, you know this as well. Old school was always calling in the ring. Are you a fan of guys calling spot for spot in the back? Does that work for you, or would you rather in the ring?
That's how I started, and I probably got a little too overly used to calling everything into the ring, because I've plenty of times, my first couple matches, lock up and go, yeah, I have no idea what we called. I'm lost already, kind of a thing. Yeah. And unfortunately, my first 3 matches were against my training partner. So we were both, green as the grass is, and then having that mentality of we called too much in the back, get to the ring and go, I forget what are we doing? And then all of a sudden we're in a hammerlock, and it's just like, what are we doing here? I don't remember calling this. But now it's to the point where it's just like, I will talk to a guy and go, what do you do good? And then, because I say, this is what I do good. And most of everything I do is bumping, because like at this point, I'm becoming the guy who takes the heat. So it's just like,
yeah, I will vouch for that.
I say, I missed this off the top. I missed this off the top. You can clothesline me over the top, bring me in the hard way. And these are my repertoire of getting beat. But it's just like, okay, we get a framework. And then from my original training, it was call the match from the last spot to the beginning. Yep. So at least, don't mess up the end. You can mess up the beginning. You can mess up the middle. Don't mess up the finish.
Right.
So I'm getting a lot more accustomed to having a few bullet points, if you will, and then getting in the ring and calling it out there. Plus, it's also learning to hear what the crowd is, what they want. When they start doing the clap to bring a guy up, and you're not in that spot, you got to be able to adapt and move accordingly.
You do need to pay. I mean, you're right, because paying attention to the crowd is half the battle that I think is lost on a lot of the younger guys these days. Yep. And because they do tend to call it in the back. And then, I mean, I've been around the business for 20 plus years. I've been involved in it in some way, shape, or form. And you can almost see that deer in headlights look when they get out there and they totally are lost on where they're supposed to go or where they were going to be, And yeah. At that point, honestly, it's kind of on. You got to hope that you got a veteran ref who can kind of gather them back in and call, all right, guys, clothesline here, drop kick, body slam, get it back together. Here you go.
Right.
And you may not know their match, but you can at least, I know for me as a referee, I had to do that a few times where the guys, they deer in headlights, and it's like, and they're looking at me going, what do we do? And it's like, all right, work a headlock really quick. Here we go. Let's go.
Take him down.
Yeah.
Take him down. Slow it down.
Yep. And that's part of, but you're talking about the crowd, crowd psychology is missing in a lot of, I mean, I think that's what me and you were talking about earlier briefly was with AEW and the not selling. I think it goes with the art of psychology. Would you agree with me there?
Yes, the art of psychology, and then you can really see somebody who enjoys selling when they're selling on offense. It's like they were just getting tuned up for a good 2-3 minutes, and now they're back on offense, but they're still selling that shoulder or the leg. So that's somebody who's really putting, their head into their performance.
Yeah, Vince. I'm assuming part of Bundy's curriculum in psychology, and he was a guy that was a master of old school psychology, was what to do, when to do it, most importantly, why you're doing it.
Right.
When you learned that, and when that finally sunk into you, did it make you a better worker? Did you understand why certain things were happening? And how did it affect your performance?
I'd say, yes, it did. The first time I made a little kid cry at ringside, it really resonated with, okay, this is a lot easier than I was giving it, not credit, but I was putting a lot more, man, this is so hard with how to work the crowd, how to actually control the crowd. And then the first time, and it was something that just happened that I got lost in the match. So I rolled out of the ring and just started walking, doing the old Larry Zbyszko stall. And the little kid was getting on me. And then I turned on him and snapped so fast, and all this, just shut up, you rat kind of thing. And then he just sat down in his chair and like his chin into his chest. And then I found out at intermission, his father came up to me, "Yo, man, you made my son cry." And I was like, "Oh, man, I'm sorry." And he was like, "No, it was the best thing we saw all week." So then it became that sometimes interaction with the crowd is as important as the moves that you're doing in the ring.
Exactly.
Especially now, like what I was saying earlier, it's like I don't have moves that I got to get in. I mean, I have maybe 1 or 2 signature moves, and they're all crowd based now. Whether it's spelling out my name with clotheslines in the corner, and then I fall down and take the pose with them to the point where they know it's coming. But most of it is, and Patch is the same way. It's about getting the crowd up, and then they'll react to what we're doing in the ring. So it's bring the crowd up first, and then start working the match.
Yeah, Jeff.
No, I was going to add, what now? Have you ever worked face before? I'm assuming you have in your career, at least.
Not until the last 2 matches that we've had for DAWG is when we've actually, the promoter was just like, "Don't even try it anymore. You guys are faces. Do what you normally do, but be faces about it." So it's, I've 15 years of being a heel. Me being a face now is so awkward. I feel awkward when I'm doing it, but it is sort of as easy as it is being a heel.
Right.
Vin, it's funny you say that, because I can't even fathom, having seen you guys now, I can't even fathom you guys ever been heels, because Patch is such a fucking nut. Let's be honest about it.
Yes.
I mean, Patch is like,
he'll be smiling when he hears you say that.
Yeah. He's custom made for popping kids.
Yeah. He's a villain.
If you know Patch, and God love him, he's just a big, goofy, like 50-year-old kid.
Now.
Lane.
When I first met him, the first time I worked him, he was ruthless. It was
really
wrestling him was like being in a car accident. It was, you walk away knowing that you were in a match. And now he's I won't say mellowing, but I think he's enjoying the role that we are in now.
He's enjoying being the older veteran baby face, that almost of a Boogie Woogie Man Valiant role.
Yes, he enjoys coming out there and getting blown up, just dancing around the ring,
dancing with the crowd and getting them. Yeah. And
it takes Patch and Vinny like 9 minutes to get to the ring.
I call it this. We do the Sandman entrance.
I love it. Because
Without the beers.
Sandman used to come out there with his beer and his Singapore cane.
And he would work the whole song.
Yep.
Which is sort of what we do. That's why I'm thankful that Patch doesn't pick like the dance remixes of some of the songs, or we'd be out there for 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, Jeff. Well, you're gonna love this, Jeff, when I tell you. They come out to the song Fireball.
Sometimes. If
What
it's not Fireball, it's Fired Up by Funky Green Dog, which is the one that I prefer, but I like them both. But
now, you've been around, you said, since 05. Who would you say has probably been your most biggest named opponent to date that you've faced that you like really enjoyed and you clicked with?
As far as like legends, I really enjoyed working with Nikolai Volkov and Tom Brandy, of course. And I worked the first time I met Patch, my partner, was working a three-way with Patch and Tom Brandy.
Wow.
And me, and I got tuned up that match. I was sore for a few days. But
I'm sure.
Now in this tag team role, it's getting the opportunity to work with like South Philly's Finest or Unstable from the Monster Factory, the Heavenly Bodies. So we are the Punk Rock All Stars. So we are getting a chance to work with guys, and it's like, yeah, we're the Silver Foxes, but it's not like we can't do anything. We're not out there in a glory roll where they're just like running into elbows and then we go over.
Right.
It's like
I will vouch for you, Vin. You guys are quite physical. I'm going to tell people that Vinny and Patch are not like exactly young kids. But you're certainly not an old man. I'm not going to put you over as an old man.
Appreciate it.
Good.
Well,
Yeah.
how old are you?
I'm middle-aged and crazy. To steal from Terry Funk, I'm middle-aged and crazy.
There you go. Okay, there's nothing wrong with
But
that.
I was middle-aged and crazy when I started training, so
Exactly.
I'm deeper into it now.
But no, you guys are quite physical. You really are. And I'm going to tell you something. If you've ever taken a chop to the chest from Patch has a very large hand.
Yes.
And he lays them in, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Boy.
And he enjoys it.
Yes. Yeah, he likes it too. Go ahead, Jeff.
No. I mean that's actually old school right there. Somebody who wants to laying in a good chop and
that's what I tell
whack.
when we were working with younger guys. I tell them if I can't feel it, I can't react to it.
There it
so
is.
It's like you're giving me if you're giving me a leg slap kick to the back and I don't feel it, I can't sell your move for you.
And don't get mad at me if I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know when the clothesline for Camden's coming, you're going to feel it. So
sure.
I take it as good as well as
I like the name of that.
I take it as well as I give it out.
Now,
Vin, how did you have to adjust your style going from heel to face? Was there an adjustment in style or psychology?
Psychology, yes. Style, no. I mean, my move set hasn't changed. I just get my ass beat a little bit more now.
Now, how did you end up teaming up with Patch? What led
we
you
were
to,
promoter at DAWG called and said, "Hey, how do you feel about tagging with Patch?" And I was like, "That sounds awesome. That's a great idea." And that was it.
You two hadn't ever like discussed it prior to it? Nothing.
Nope.
I mean,
nope.
Wow.
I think that's also feeds into our old school Empire name, is that we are that classic where we don't do a lot of overly choreographed double team moves. It's just two black boots, black trunks, get in there and maul you. We'll throw a couple technical moves in, and then we have sort of a finish that comes out of nowhere at times, and then it's just start the music and let's start dancing again.
Kind of like a throwback to an Arn and Tully, as far as like the style. You're not.
Yeah. You know what, Jeff? That's exactly right, Jeff. They're very reminiscent of Arn and Tully with Vinny playing kind of the Tully role, the more stout of the two.
Yeah.
Patch is much looser, much more comedic. But when you see them work, and I encourage everybody to go onto YouTube and check out the Old School Empire. But when you watch them work, you're going to look at them and go Arn and Tully for sure.
Yeah, that's the feel. I mean, just the video that I have seen of them as well. That was what I was going to say. Was I saw more Arn and Tully than than the Rock and Roll Express or Midnight's even. But I mean, well, I was going to say the Midnights were an exception as far as being that heel team that had the flashy moves to go with them, because they had to kind of use that double team to get them over as a heel. That's what made them work. Yeah. So now,
and we also had J.J. Dillon in our corner once, so that's a funny connection.
Oh,
you got to tell that story.
Yeah,
it was our second match as a team, and we had just won the belts, and we were giving the former champions their rematch, and JJ was at the show pushing his book that he had just written, and we had our manager with us, and the Down Boys, who we had beaten previously for the belts, they had JJ in their corner, and then here through the course of the match, JJ turned a little on them and then left with us. So I got a cool picture out of it.
Awesome. Did JJ use his shoe that night?
Yes, he did.
There you go. That's what takes the cake.
He used the shoe, and we did the as we were taking the jackets off. Patch couldn't get his undone, so it was wait, I got it this time, and then couldn't get his snaps undone. We probably burned about 2.5 minutes of just trying to get his jacket off.
That's great. I love the fact that you use old school stalling techniques.
Yep. Yes. And then back to the tag team wrestling, it is very much when we were heels, it was cut the ring in half, keep in the corner, distract the referee, cheat. And to the point now that even we're getting cheered, Patch will still look over here, thumb in the throat kind of thing. But now it's getting cheered instead of getting booed. So that aspect of it hasn't changed.
That actually, again, that reminds me. I mean, Boogie, when he used to work, I had the privilege of working with him as a referee, and it would be, hey, ref, look over here. And then, I do the distraction. Boom, thumb to throat. Crowd loves it. Got one over on the referee. And then, hey, ref, look up there. And then, do whatever. You're making the referee look stupid, but, it worked. And like I gave him credit for, he taught me comedy, as far as, because.
I'm not normally a fan of comedy, but something like that, I'm okay with.
Yeah. Well, that's old school to me.
It's interesting you say that, and I'm surprised to hear you say that because you guys are so good at it. I will agree. I'm not a huge fan of comedy in wrestling because comedy doesn't draw money. But in your case, it works because you've got. Let's be honest about it. You've got the Clown Prince of Wrestling as your tag partner. Mm-hmm. Patch has been known in the middle of a match to go into the audience. For no apparent reason.
As I have as well.
I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
This is real, Jeff. He'll go into the audience in the middle of a match and just start dancing with people.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it.
And while Vinny is in the ring getting his ass handed to him, So, I mean, Vince, that you take the brunt of the beatings, but let's be honest, you're built for it. And people, if you look at Patch, you'll understand what I'm talking about. But do you incorporate? You were talking about referees here a minute ago. How do you incorporate the ref into your match psychology?
I always make it a point to have fun with the referee, but not stooge him out, because
Okay.
he has, a very important job. He's got to be the police officer. He's got to be the person who keeps, an air of legitimacy to the match. So it's be a fool, but never make the referee look like a fool.
Right.
Yep.
Who are some of your favorite refs to work with? And I'm asking for a very specific reason.
I work a lot with Kid Ref Chris and Spanky 123, and Scott Volk works a lot with us in Mawa. So, I mean, they're mostly the three that I work with the most.
Have you ever worked with Fred Richards?
Scott.
Have you ever worked with Fred Richards?
Yes.
Tell me about working with Fred.
Freddie was, well, you treat him with respect. I mean, that's the one thing. And it was just follow that same rule of the referee is sort of the police officer, the governor of the match. So it's like when he starts yelling, it's like, don't yell back and make him look like a fool. It's just,
right.
Okay, you're the boss. You're the man. And then occasionally I'll say, you ain't got the guts to disqualify me, kind of thing. But
there is an art to working with a referee, and there, whether you're a heel or a face, and using them to your advantage.
Yep.
And like when you're a heel, you can use a referee without making them look stupid, because when you make them look stupid, you end up losing something on the match. Now, I was going to ask you, do you prefer tag wrestling versus singles?
No, I don't have a preference. I have learned the tightness of both of them, how to get over on both of them. So it's like if I were to walk into an event and they go, yeah, I had you booked for a singles, but I need you to work this tag match, I'd no problem at all to slip between the two.
That's good that you're diverse. Yeah, that's really good to be diverse.
Both of us, both Patch and I, were the DAWG tag team champions, but Patch is the Crossroads champion, singles champion.
Right.
And right now I've hold the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance singles champion. So it is rather funny that in our advanced stages of careers, we're both double champions across 3 different promotions.
Wow.
What does that tell you?
That I have a lot of people that come out that want to see me get beat up, and then want to shoot.
Well, that's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
I mean, with whether they pay to see you lose or whether they pay to see you win, the bottom line is they're paying to see you. So,
Yes.
I mean,
It's the same.
It's about selling the gimmicks at the gimmick table. So, now you and Patch have been together for how long?
Since October of 2016.
Okay, so you just got together.
Calendar-wise, it sounds like a long time, but we only tag in the DAWG promotion. So we've had probably, if not 10, less than 10 matches together as a tag team.
Astounding, because you guys look like you've been together for years.
I think we were good opponents, and we make better tag team partners.
Well, is it easier working with Patch or working against him?
Working against him was easy because he's up for anything. The only thing that I would say working against him, the only thing that's tough is taking the chops and taking the beating. Working with him is easy because the first thing out of his mouth is, after we, hey, how you doing? Give, hug each other, ask how everybody is and the families and everything like that. It's, what do you want to do tonight? And it'd be just like, he's, right. I don't care. You call it. He was like, and when it comes to our side of it, he goes, I don't care. You call it. You call a good match. So when the other team comes over and they try and tell us what they're going to do, and it was like, maybe no, not so much that, a little bit more of this. What do you guys do good? This is what we do. You know, bounce me around. He's hot tagging and going to take it home kind of thing. And then it's just like in the ring, this isn't working. Go to this, do that. And then he's fine with it because I could start the match, take the head, do some moves. He's going to come in and do whatever he wants anyway. So it's we'll work the chain, but he's got to get his, get the crowd. And then that first big crack a hand on the chest. So it's both of them have been adventures.
Vinny, as part of that team, what is your strength? What do you bring to the team that's your strength?
I'm gonna, as I've never been the flyer, I'm gonna be the one that flies around the ring. I'm gonna be the one that needs to. If somebody's getting pulled over, that's probably going to be me. And then
like the Ricky Morton.
Yeah, I'm becoming.
Yeah,
a little bit more now that we've become faces. Yes, and then Patch goes, "I'm sorry, you had to take the beating. I'll do it next time." I was like, "No, you're not. You're the hot tag guy." And he's like, "All right, yeah, that's good."
Well, and there's nothing wrong. That's a good tag team right there. It's a tag team that can work that way.
Yeah, we have our, I won't say defined roles, but we have our role in the team.
You get the heat on you, and then you let him come in and clean up. So,
and I think also,
Jeff, whether you know it or not, Jeff, you just prompted a question from me.
Go.
Vin, you said growing up you were a fan the entire time growing up.
Yes.
We're talking about tag wrestling. Who was your go-to tag team when you were a kid?
It started Tony Gurria and Larry Zbyszko.
Wow.
All right.
And so it made when Zbyszko and Sammartino had their run on TV. At that time, we were learning to play the guitar at the house, and we would have a teacher come to the house. I missed my appointment because as a child, when Larry took the chair to Bruno, I was that kid just standing in front of the TV, like heart on the floor going, why is he doing that to Bruno?
Yeah.
Coming from South Philly parents, so it's the Italian thing, and it was grown to be there's all the other wrestlers, and then there's Bruno Sammartino. So it was, and then any tag team configuration that had Tony Gurria in it was, my jam at the time. So and then it became, loved Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas. I loved Tony Atlas as a kid.
Yeah.
So then it was just like, as far as, and then we were talking earlier, as it got into the 90s, the Steiner brothers were the team that I was just head and shoulders above every other. And now it's there. We were talking earlier, one of the questions you asked was about tag team wrestling. There were so many different rumors as to far as like they said that Bischoff wanted to kill tag team wrestling, or at the time, if you were to ask me, I could not answer why tag team wrestling doesn't seem to work on the main roster unless it's the New Day or the Usos that get the chance to get out there and do what. But NXT's going back to NXT. Tag team wrestling is right there. Watch one episode and you have sort of a master class on how to work a match.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you, having been a traditional fan, having grown up when you started watching it, how hard has it been for you to adjust even your wrestling style with the newer style of wrestling out there? Like you were talking, even the leg slaps and the kicks to the back and all that, compared to, what you even grew up watching and loving, way different.
I've never slapped my leg, and I've never thrown a super kick. So I think that answers. I don't know if that answers your question. Not that
it does.
Not that I don't want to. It's just that I've sort of, one of my original trainers at Bundy School, Joey Greco, always stressed, even when we were learning tackle, drop down, hip toss, do it as a character. He was like,
Yep.
know who you want to be, and then do that. And it was never, my character wouldn't do that, so I never learned how to do it. And then as far as being a heel for 15 years, I've never thrown a punch. I never developed a really good punch. Anyway, I'm good for maybe one punch a match. I'm more of a chop and forearm, but which is funny because I've never thrown a punch, but I always have knucks in my bag or the taped universal object. So it's just like anybody goes, hey, you need a gimmick, and I'm just like, well, wait a minute, I got like 5 or 6 of them here for somewhere.
I actually got a funny story about having a gimmick one time. I was refereeing a match, and they did it was paper wrapped up in electrical tape, but making it look like brass knucks, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We're on our way back. We get pulled over. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, we're down in North Carolina in the middle of Nowheresville, bumfuck Egypt, North Carolina. And I swear it sounds like the beginning of every bad joke. It was me, a Puerto Rican, and a black guy riding in the car together. And I'm a white dude. And we get pulled over, and the cop goes, first thing out of his mouth is there a reason why your guys' eyes are bloodshot? Well, brother, we've been on the road for 7 hours going home. We're tired. We just got done wrestling. In my case, I was a referee for 3 hours. I was the only referee. Like we're really. He was like, all right, I need y'all to step out of the vehicle. I'm going to search your bags. Okay. He comes across the gimmick object. Me being old school, I'm kayfabing it. He said, what is this? I said, it's a foreign object. He said, so you can use it to hit somebody. I said, well, technically, yeah. And he said, so it's illegal to use in a fight. And I was like, well, it's a foreign object. Well, yeah. And then my friend, the little Puerto Rican guy, Latino, he said, look, you son of a bitch, they're about ready to arrest us. Tell them what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
So,
God.
on the side of the road, I said, well, really all it is electrical tape with paper, but I'm damn sure I was going to protect the business at all costs. It was.
That's funny, Jeff.
Hey,
that's funny, brother.
I mean, when you are taught, and that is ingrained in you at I got started when I did, you're taught you don't let that kind of shit slip out. I mean, even though it was starting to leak out ever so slowly, it was just like, nah, there's certain things I don't let go, so I don't care. You may threaten to arrest me, but where are the cuffs? Let me see the real cuffs. And now, but anyway, I thought you would get a kick out of that, talking about foreign.
That's funny.
That was, now.
Okay, Jeff.
No.
You got it, brother.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask you, you were talking current day tag team, and I don't know what it is about on the main roster where it gets lost, because it does seem, even in AEW, where they got the Young Bucks, and then it's almost like, who else you got? SCU, and then who? Like,
yeah.
And yet NXT, they can put on a main
embarrassment of wealth.
And it's like, I don't get it. I mean, why do you think where would you say it gets lost? Do you think that it is that Vince doesn't see anything in tag wrestling, or
I don't want to say it's about gimmick, because there have been teams that are pushed that weren't the New Day or the Usos or the Viking Raiders, but there's nothing worse than watching on the main roster a tag match that doesn't go 5 minutes. It's it's tag team. It should, a minimum of 10 to 12.
There you go.
You have 4 guys in the ring. They should be allotted that amount of time to be a tag team, to do tag team stuff, whether that's double team or, fool around with the referee and do their, in the corner, hold the trunks, in the corner, wrap the tag rope around them, as the referee's being pulled this way. It's all those simple things. So to that answer, I've read who likes it and who doesn't, but I really don't have, and I've never heard a really proper answer for why it got to where it is.
Yeah.
Vince,
and when.
I have a question for you, Vince, along those lines. what's the fundamental difference now between tag team wrestling and the tag team wrestling we grew up with? Do you play to the crowd differently? Do you have, because they're smarter, do you have to be smart with them, or do you go the opposite way? Do you swerve them back to old school?
I don't think you need to. All right, say the Dusty Classic that's happening right now. If you take whatever you would consider the best match from that tournament and put it up against whatever you want to call the best match from whatever time period that you want to put it up against, the wrestling's the same. Mm-hmm. The idea of what's going on is the same. It's just that somewhere along the lines, I think, of the Monday Night Wars, the Crash TV style of wrestling, the crowd already knows who to cheer for and who to boo even before they lock up.
Right.
So maybe the difference was, as they always say, as soon as you come through the curtain, the crowd's got to know you're the baby face or you're the heel. So your character has to start as soon as you come through the curtain. So I would say that's the difference when they go match of the year, tag team match, whoever it is and whatever company it is, that's the difference. The wrestling is the same. Yeah, maybe you throw some newer concept moves in or maybe some new double team moves, but the tag team wrestling it's always been, it's the same thing. Whether you want to say it follows a formula, I mean, it is, you have two teams. Hopefully they're two teams that always work as a team, not just a team versus two single stars that are put together. You know, but even that can still work. I mean, because how we're talking Bob Backlund and Pedro against the Samoans, you know, that shouldn't have happened because you have your established team against two singles who don't tag team together. Yeah, maybe the difference was that it was your main champion and your secondary singles champion together. So, okay, there wasn't too many teams that they were going to lose to anyway. But the match itself is still the same. And it will be always the same because it works.
Right. No, you're right on that. I mean, I think part of where tag team wrestling kind of got lost is, you're right, when the Monday Night Wars happened, matches started going from 20 and 30-minute tag matches to where all of a sudden now it had to be 6 to 8. Yes. And then you did have a lot of, especially in WWE, it was in WCW too, where it was a lot of, okay, you're a top singles guy and you're a top singles guy and we don't have a program for you, so now we're going to put you together as a tag team. And it may or may not make sense.
And isn't that who just won the AEW tag team titles?
Omega and Adam Page. And then when you look at WWE over on Raw, you got Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. Both, I mean, tag teams that neither one were traditional teams. I mean, now, I was going to ask you, what is your opinion of the revival over there in the WWE? I mean, they were tearing it up in NXT, so.
Sure. They've great matches with anybody who's in the ring with them. So that's got to be more to a credit to them than it is to just a credit of who's putting the matches together. I mean, who's there going, what tag team specialist is in the back going, all right, fellas, when you get out there, make sure you do this and make sure you do these little things that I don't think they needed to be. Scott Dawson has been a tag team wrestler for as long as he's been on NXT.
Yep.
So it's like there's got to be something there other than somebody telling them what to do.
Well, I mean, they're definitely traditional throwback, old school of Atelier and Midnight Express, Rocket.
Right, and it's right on their T-shirt. They're not out there flipping.
I've got a question.
Doing a backflip off the top into a pile driver. It's just they're have their double team moves, but most of their wrestling is cut the ring in half, keep them in your corner.
I've got a question actually for both you guys. Starting with you, Vince. WWE is a company that largely was founded on tag team wrestling. I mean, we go back to the 60s with Dr. Jerry Graham and Eddie Graham. We can go back to Bull Ramos and Pampero Firpo, who, by the way, just passed away.
The Sicilians.
We can go into the 70s with the Valiant Brothers and the Wild Samoans. Zbyszko and Garea, of course, and those, of course, and you use the term, and this is what prompted the question, the term throwback. What can tag wrestling today learn from the tag wrestling of yesterday?
That I would say not every move has to be a finisher. I mean, it's okay to work a body part. It worked for the Minnesota Wrecking Crew, right? It was always take the arm and work the arm for 20 minutes, give a little bit of hope, and then cut them right back off. That's simple, and it works. It's effective. Like, you don't have to overcomplicate something that already works.
Vince, what do you make of people, whether it's individual or tag team, where guys come up to you and say, we'll do whatever you want to do. I just want to get my shit in. And I love that quote. I got to get my shit in.
Anymore, when I hear that, I'll go, well, what is your shit?
Yep.
Tell me what you do good. And I most times size the guy up and go, yeah, I'm not taking that from you. Or
okay.
Where you want to do that? Where do you plan on doing that in the match? Does it make sense?
The psychology, right?
And that goes back to you calling the match, as a heel or the veteran.
Yeah.
And if I tell you, can you let me hit my, my Canadian Destroyer plancha pile driver? And you go, yes or no, I can take it. And then B, I'll tell you when you're going to use it. You know what I mean? Like,
finish, fine. If that's the finish, fine.
Yep, there you go. Tell me, how wild is it for you to see Ricky Morton at 62 giving a Canadian Destroyer and going through the ropes and giving a plancha?
Sometimes when I watch it, the first thing I do is, why? Just look at it and go, don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Don't get hurt.
Right.
You know what I think?
But good.
I'll tell you what.
And then and then when he stands up and you see everything's good, it's like, good for him.
Yeah, I'll tell you what part of it I think it is he's got his training school, so he's around a lot of the younger kids, and then his son is now getting involved in it. They're actually taking bookings. So he just announced that within the last week or two that they were going to start taking bookings together. But so I think that he's kind of like, I got to still prove something to my kid. You know what I mean? Like, I can go.
He's still doing it. It's not like he's only doing it once every 6 months. He's still in the ring. So, yeah, good for him.
Well, Jeff, I asked Vinny a question, and I directed it to both of you. So what is your answer to the question, what can tag teams today learn from old school tag teams?
For one, actually,
being the younger guy, you could answer this.
Well, no, I would say the actual art of actually tag team wrestling, and as Vinny said, cutting the ring off, doing double team tactics behind the referee's back if you're a heel, making it, traditional cutting, when they do say cutting the ring in half and making it, go, where you are, you two are double teaming a guy to the point where if you're the heel, double teaming that babyface so much, that crowd's ready to enter that ring and kill you. And because,
and you can get to there, you can get to that without doing a ton of moves.
I mean, and not every move has to be flashy and what made the Road Warriors unique was they did their own style. They went in there, they were kick ass, in your face, I'm going to beat your ass, in and out and done.
Yeah, well, Vinny just kind of put his finger on it. Well, you can get to where you need to go without doing, 100 different moves to get there.
And I think that a lot of wrestler tag team or even singles would do themselves good to slow it down today and
yeah, let's talk about that.
Part of tag team wrestling, what made it kind of speed up was like Matt and Jeff and Edge and Christian and even the Dudleys when they were doing their TLC matches. I mean, Matt and Jeff were doing some crazy shit for a tag team.
Let me ask you, Jeff, where's the psychology in it?
I think Matt and Jeff still had psychology because they were doing traditional double team babyface moves that worked. And they weren't always even balls to the wall. I mean, like you would see, they would build up to Jeff doing the swanton. That was their big high spot. That was it. That was all they needed. And Jeff may do his, poetry motion is what they called it, where he would jump off and Matt's back and hit a move into the corner. But it wasn't so much of, okay, I'm going to hit a hurricane run off the top rope, then you're going to hit a flip, flipping 450, and then I'm going to come up with a moonsault, and then you're going to hit a leg drop.
Yeah.
So I think Vinny.
For a 2 count.
Yeah.
There you go. I mean, the Usos, I think, can work. The Usos definitely can work a tag match today.
Oh, sure.
And they don't have half of that moveset of what you just called.
There you go.
Exactly, Vin. Exactly.
And
yeah.
When the Usos need to start cooking, they do.
Yeah. Well, so Vin, talking about, and psychology plays into that. So you're working face right now. You and Patch are working face, but you started off as heels. Does the ring psychology benefit you better as a face or a heel in a tag as opposed to a single, or is it more beneficial for you?
I think they're equally the same as far as I thought where you're heading with it was for being able, as a heel, being able to slow the match down. Mm-hmm. In a tag team or a singles, you can do the same, whether it's just choke on the ropes, pull in between the ropes, fish hook, rake them, get somebody with it, that you see a camera. Oh, here's a good picture. Turn them to the camera. Pull the nose back. It's all those things that we need to slow down. Headlock, take over, right, and then work the thumb in the throat, or do a move where you can get your feet up on the ropes. Do a move where you're slowing it down, reaching back for their partner. Yeah. All this stuff, for the crowd to see that the referee's not supposed to see. Yeah. In a singles, you can pretty much do all those same things. If you have a manager or valet, you can always reach for those. But it's pretty much this. I don't have a big groundbreaking answer as far as that. To me, it was both of them were really simple. I mean, I've simpled them down to.
You mentioned a minute ago having a manager. Have you ever had a manager?
Yes. Maybe my first year into it, after Bundy sold the school, a guy by the name of Doc Diamond took over.
Oh God, sure, Doc Diamond. Yeah, I know him well.
And so when he took over Devastation University, he paired me up with Jimmy Clydesdale was my first manager.
Ah, okay.
Danny Schwartz.
The late Jimmy Clydesdale.
And so he was my first. We never really did anything as far as double teaming, but that's where it started. And then every once in a while, I would have like Jaden came to the ring with me a bunch of times before we separated a little bit. But other than that, no. When the
have you ever had a famous manager?
JJ.
Other than JJ for that one match, no.
Tell us about working with JJ Dillon.
I didn't really have too much interaction with him because he was on the other side of the ring for most of it. But he was during the show, sitting at the table with his books, signing autographs, selling the books. Really nice guy, just like you would never think. Soon as the match started, it was like the flip of the switch, and he became JJ Dillon. Mm-hmm. And then, but JJ Dillon face. But then as soon as the shoe came off, it was there's the guy I know from TV, and then it was the fingers came up and everything. It was pointing and laughing, and then it was all the carrying on. So unfortunately, that was the extent of. And then saying hi, hello to him afterwards and thanking him for everything. And he was just like, you guys didn't need me. You had that match in. And I was just like, all right, well, that's nice of you to say. And then critique, I think you asked me before, ring announcer Gary Michael Capetta showed up for a bunch of the DAWG shows from around that time, and he paid us a really nice compliment as for our wrestling that I saw he wrote up on Facebook, and then I had to, hey, thank you very much kind of thing. He was just like, yeah, the tag team champions. As soon as they came out, I knew I didn't like them. I knew we should be booing them. And he was like, and then they got in the ring, and then I really knew we should be booing them. So it was like, I showed Patch that. I was like, we're doing our job.
Exactly.
And then here's a guy who has seen it all, been around it all, and he's saying that about us. And I was like, we're on to something.
When you're able to tell that story, that is a thing of beauty. Like when you can get that across that they know, from the get go. And you'd hit on it way earlier when you were talking about being in your character when you come through that curtain.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of lost on some of them.
Yeah.
And I think that some of the newer wrestlers, they just don't quite get that yet, or they need to figure it out. And a lot of that honestly comes with time in the ring.
Yeah.
And
well, Jeff,
it's also seen it on TV. They're programmed to boo or cheer who they know. So when they're walking to the ring, they don't have to work that hard because they already know that as soon as I go out there, they're going to boo me because they know to boo me.
Yeah.
When you're first time in a new area or a new building, you can't rely on that because they don't know who you are.
Exactly. It's fun. Jake the Snake Roberts was asked about that very question, and Jake said, the match for me begins when I arrive at the building. He becomes Jake the Snake when he gets to the building. So for him, it begins before he goes through the curtain, before he gets to the ring. Is that a mindset that you and Patch have?
I see that in the locker room a lot. Guys who are, a year, 5 years in, they're in the locker room with their headphones on and they're doing their whole thing, getting into them. And I walk by and go, I don't know if I'm not that guy, but what you asked earlier is there isn't much of a difference in the character and the guy who shows up. So I don't have to put on, I put my trunks on, and that's about the only put on as far as, so I see it, and sometimes I go, okay, this guy's got a gimmick to get into, but this guy, what are you doing? It's like you're trying to work the boys. You're sort of trying to work the boys in the locker room that you're this intense guy, and then get out there and then watch the match and go, what was all that stuff in the locker room for if you're doing that out there? It's like
it's funny because we had one of your colleagues on the show, Daredevil Dave Dahl, and unfortunately, maybe it was a sign from above, but that show, what are you laughing at, Jeff? that show got lost. It actually crashed on Microsoft. But, it's funny, but, Dave, I have this feeling that Dave Dahl is Dave Dahl 24/7.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little heads up into the mindset of the Daredevil?
The guy that walks through the curtain and does everything around the ring is the guy who walks in carrying his bag, and that's not a put down at all. Because Dave's the character, and Dave's been around and he's getting himself here and there. So it's not like it's not a lack of preparation or effort. I mean, he is putting in the work to get the jobs that he's getting and getting the time that he's getting.
We should tell everybody that Vinny the Fixxer and Patch are the DAWG Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champions. We should also let people know that Vinny the Fixxer is also the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Champion. And that's with a group called MAWA. It's Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Association. Am I saying that right, Vin?
Alliance.
Oh, Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance, which is based here in New Jersey. A great group, by the way, that runs 5 minutes from my house. And so you have, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have a championship title match, you and Patch, coming up in February.
The 29th.
Tell us about who you're going against, and what is your history with your opponents?
I think that's a trick question. We have not announced yet. When you find out, I'll find out. But it's February 29th at Max Fit Sports Complex in Glassboro, New Jersey.
I have a feeling, Jeff, that I'm being kayfabed here.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, because Baby Doll did the same thing to us. I'm sure you may remember this or you may not, but Vinny, do you remember when Dusty and her did an angle and she came out and she had an envelope full of pictures and she showed Dusty and he just looks at him and he just walks off the TV like he couldn't even believe whatever it was. And I said, Baby Doll, you got to answer the question we've all been wondering for 30 years. What was in that envelope? And she said, I'll tell you what Dusty told me. If you ever tell them what was in it, then they will quit guessing. As long as you keep them guessing, they'll always keep on asking. And
she did. She didn't say this.
That was her answer.
Perfect.
Legit answer. So
she came like just a little shit.
But now I was gonna go with, you were talking about Dave Dahl and being a character when he comes in the door. Tommy Dreamer has even said, Tom Laughlin is at home with my wife and my kids. And he said, but my wife and kids know when Tom Laughlin walks through that door, he becomes Tommy Dreamer.
Tommy Dreamer.
And he said, if I'm out in public, I'm Tommy Dreamer. If I'm at the grocery store, I'm Tommy Dreamer. If I'm at the hotel, I'm Tommy Dreamer until I close that the hotel door. And he said, and he was like, but that's the life I signed up for.
Yep.
And
that's got to be exhausting.
I agree. I mean, I think that's what I think it would do good guys a load of good to kind of get in that mindset. Now, what I was going to, again, about Dave Dahl was one thing that he did hit on is he has gone as far as, even what he was saying, he's been as far as Midwest as Missouri for a training school. You know what I mean? Even for a guy giving a 3 or 4 day seminar or even a 2-day. That, I think, is lost on or younger guys would do a world of good is to go to these seminars that are offered by the vets.
Good point, Jeff. Good point, Jeff.
I'm torn on the seminar. Sometimes I think it's just a way to make money, and then other times I see who's giving it, and I go, what are you going to learn going to that seminar?
Right. But if you got certain guys who are giving it, who may be able to actually give you pointers, who have been there on the top and are able to say, hey, this is what you like.
Yeah, if you're looking to get into a bigger promotion, yes, maybe they have a secret. No, this is the way you should go about it. Conduct yourself in this manner.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know
I see guys putting that they attend seminars on their resume.
Vince, can I ask you a question? Is the seminar circuit, for lack of a better term, is that the new networking tool?
I'd say maybe. I mean, I don't. Who are you going to see at a seminar that's going to help you get somewhere?
Well, that's the $1 million question. What do you think, Jeff?
I don't know that they're going to help you get somewhere as it is. If you're a new green kid getting in the business and you go to like we've had Jeff Jarrett in for a seminar before, and you go to a Jeff Jarrett, he has got a wealth of knowledge. Whether or not he's teaching you something in the ring, he can at least teach you behind the scenes, what it's like, what promoters are looking for, whether it's on the indie level to the big leagues on down. That part, I do think it helps them out. I think that, if you're going to some of these seminars to learn learn new moves, no, you already learned that in training school. You go to these seminars to get pointers on how to make your character a little bit better, maybe how to cut a promo, how to work in front of a TV audience, how to conduct yourself in a locker room even.
True.
So I think when you're first getting started, your first 2 or 3 years, soak it all up and absorb them, and then take a little bit of each one. If I'll say this, if it's a $25 to maybe $50 max, $50 on a seminar, look at who it is that's giving it. Like Vinny said, if you can look at it and you go, it's a Billy, let's just say Billy Gunn. You go, okay, he's affiliated with AEW for one. He's been there, been in, WWE, TNA. He's been all around the world. Mm-hmm. He's probably got some knowledge to offer you somewhere. You know what I mean? By listening to his 3-hour seminar. So I would say go take a Billy Gunn. Now, if you got Joe Blow Jabroni, who happens to only be an indie boy, who says, "Oh, I've been wrestling indies for 20 years," why do you need to go hear what he's done? What's he got to offer you? Because he's not going to guide you to get to where you want to be.
Yeah. Sure. Then.
Would you agree, Vinny?
Yeah, exactly.
Has anybody ever come up to you and say, I want to be a wrestler. How do I get into the business? What do you tell them?
For a point in time, I was telling them, hey, meet me at this gym because this is where we work out and I'll train you. Because at a point when Doc Diamond had the Devastation University, when the trainers were coming and going, the in-between times and when they were coming and going, he was like, yo, how do you feel about, I got these students. Why don't you conduct the classes? So I did have a hand in passing along the training methods that I learned to the next generation of Devastation University.
And then, see, that to me, you would still have knowledge to pass along even in a seminar. To me, you would, because you've been in that training scenario. You've been trained by. You've been in there with names. You know what I mean?
I also watch matches.
Yeah.
Like I just don't go and sit in the back the whole time.
Yeah.
You'll see me at the DAWG shows. If we're on before intermission, after intermission, I'm sitting in the crowd watching the rest of the show.
Yeah.
That is another thing I think, Vinny, you would probably agree, as I would encourage anybody else to do. If you're trying to get in the business, sit back and watch what your other wrestlers are doing and try to separate yourself apart from what they're doing out there. If you've already seen 10 super kicks and that's in your repertoire, take it out for the night. You don't need to do it. You ain't going to pop that crowd any more than the other 9 did.
Yeah.
or be able to improvise and adapt and go, we're sitting in the back going, man, they just did something we were going to do. All right, well, we can't do it now.
Yep.
The next match, they just did this. And it's just like, okay, don't worry. We won't do this. We'll do this.
Sure.
So we're not giving them the same match, 2 matches in a row.
You learn to adjust on the fly.
Yes. Which goes back to calling the match in the ring instead of trying to work everything in the back. And then, I forgot step number 2. What do we do now?
I think that there's a difference between being a perfectionist like a Randy Savage or even a DDP who would actually map their move for move for move.
Yeah, I've heard.
Versus what me and you were talking about, and even and Angelo's even, where they're in the back and they go, okay, move A is a headlock, move B, we're going to do a drop down, move C, we're going to do a tackle, move D, you're going to hit me with the hip toss, and then I'm going to fire back and hit you with a drop kick, and then I'm going to hit you with a clothesline. Then you're going to do a double down and a Hurricane Rana. I'm lost.
Yep. And I would say that in the back. If I was getting that laundry list of this is what we're going to do, I'd be in the back going, there's no way I'm remembering that. I don't have that.
When I had my promotion, the one thing I told all the guys that worked for me, whether they were veterans or whether they were newbies, green boys, I would tell them the same thing. And I would say it today. Less is more.
Yep.
That's been my rule of thumb. Less is more. But along those lines, we have to have more of Vinny the Fixxer, Vince Rosa. Next time, we promise by hook or by crook, if we have to hog tie the bastard, we're going to get Patch on the show.
And he'll be 10 times more entertaining.
Oh, you've been fun. You've been a lot of fun, actually. I've enjoyed you.
Real quick, you were talking. You used Diamond Dallas Page as an example.
Yes.
When in the early '90s, when the shoot interviews were getting really popular, I was watching Bull Payne shoot interview, and he relayed a story of Dallas Page working at the power plant and coming up with this yellow legal pad of how we were going to call a match, and he walked up to Kurt Hennig with it, saying, "Hey, I would like to get together with you and show you what we're going to do for the match." And Bull Payne said that Kurt Hennig looked at him, looked at the pad, and it was just like, "Yeah, we ain't doing that," kind of a thing. And I could just imagine the look on his face of like, "Yeah, I don't work that way," kind of a thing.
There was somebody else. I heard that same thing, and I forget who it was, but they said he went up to them with his list on them, you know, like whoever it was. They said it was on a Nitro, and they purposely avoided Page for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And they said by the time he got to him, he was a nervous wreck. And he handed them, you know, his legal pad. And he said, "Here you go. Can we go over this?" And they said, he looked, whoever it was, looked at it, said, "No, we're going to call it in the ring," and balled it up and threw it away.
Shit.
And they said Paige was about to have an anxiety attack right there on the spot. Like, "Oh shit, what am I going to do?" And that's.
But I can completely identify with that story.
I think that story I have heard was Diamond Dallas Page's first time working with Kevin Nash and Scott Hall. And they said to him, "Look, brother, it's live television. What are they going to do? Stop you? Go out." Exactly. Go out there and do what you want to do.
That's even what Bruce Pritchard has said to a lot. He said he even tells the guys that these, you know, now is he said, you know, he hears them all bitching going, "Well, we want to get over. They're not letting us get over." And he said, "You got a live mic.
Exactly.
What are they going to do?" He said, "The most that they're going to do is cut you off and go to black."
Yeah. And if they do that, you are totally over if that happens to you.
Exactly.
And he said, "Now I'll tell you this, if you go into business for yourself and you pop that crowd, Vince is going to love you in the back and be giving you a big hug." He said, "Now if you go into business for yourself and they crap on you, Vince is going to give you a thumbs down and you're out the door."
Exactly.
He said, "Now you got to make that call."
Yeah.
But
yeah,
I mean, anyway, I was going to say, Vinny, I wish we had been taping our first hour. I mean, you were just like,
yeah, I'll tell you what, that would have been a hell of a show.
That was
Jeff. I promise you, we're going to have Vince back.
Yes.
In the meantime, this has been a very fast hour.
Yeah, it has. It's gone by really quick.
We're going to say thank you, Vince, for joining us. Vinny the Fixxer, Vincent Rosa, one half of the old school empire, and I promise
champions.
We will have Patch here at some point.
Hey, so real quick, Vinny,
a shout out to DAWG Championship Wrestling. Once again, it's February 29th at the Maxfit Sports Center in Glassboro, New Jersey. They will defend the titles against a mystery opponent. As of the,
I don't know if it's a mystery. It just hasn't been announced yet.
I know it's mystery.
Mystery opponents don't sell tickets.
My friend.
Well, I was going to ask you, what's your social media? Do you have a way for the fans to get a hold of you, Vinny?
How do people get a hold of you, Vince?
I'm on Facebook as Vincent Rosa and on Instagram as the same. Okay. But I think you can search Vinny the Fixxer and it should take you to both. And then there's the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance. There's a Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance Facebook page, as well as the Dangerous Athletic Wrestling Gladiators, DAWG.
Dangerous Adrenaline Wrestling Gladiators.
I always messed it up. That's why I got used to saying DAWG for so long. I never learned what the exact words were. But they're on all the, like, be found through all the social media platforms.
Awesome.
I begged Jaden just to call it DWG. Dangerous Wrestling, Dangerous Wrestling Gladiators.
It's too close. Nice. It's too close to DWF or
PWG. Or PWG over on the West Coast. So
yeah, true enough. Jeff,
there's also on YouTube you can find Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Alliance, and then you can also find Vinny the Fixxer and subscribe on YouTube.
Yep.
All right, Jeff, it is your turn. Plug your social and plug Vanguard and all the stuff that Jeff the Ref has going on. And tell everybody about the new show that we might premiere here soon.
Oh, well, it's an idea that I'm kicking around where it's going to be kind of me doing deep dives or whatever you want to say it on maybe 3 to 4 of the hot topics of the news for the week of whatever may have come out, and kind of going down that rabbit hole, so to say, and where it may, what all my take is on it, and whoever my co-host may be. It will not be Angelo. I love him to death, and he loves me back, but he's a busy man. So, I
got to play
this Saturday, February 1st. We will be Vanguard Championship Wrestling at the Norfolk Masonic Temple on Granby Street, Norfolk, Virginia. And we will be having Billy Gunn and Gangrel, Brandon Scott, and Ken Dixon in a fatal 4-way to decide who faces Gino in March. And that is this Saturday night, February 1st. Vanguard Championship Wrestling. You can find them at vcw-wrestling.com or on Vanguard Championship Wrestling on Facebook. And then, of course, you got me. I'm, on your Twitter and your Facebook and all that good stuff. If you want to find me, I'm on Twitter at JeffRob41977. Not that I'm an interesting follower, but hey, I like getting followers. And then you can also find us over on our Wrestling with the Future Twitter at Wrestling WIT8T3. I think a lot of people haven't quite, that's just the way Twitter put it in with that T3 at the end. I can't figure it out. But anyway, that is where you can find me on your social media. And then, of course, I know that I'll handle this part, Angelo. You can find us on all of your pod streams out there right now, all your podcast pod streams. We're on Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it, we're on it. All you got to do is look up Wrestling with the Future. You'll find us.
All right. Well, then I don't need to say.
Can I post one more?
Yeah,
Can
go
I
ahead.
do one more? I just thought of it when Jeff said February 1st. I'll be on live on Twitch TV with Super Fight Wrestling Saturday,
Awesome.
February 1st.
Awesome.
I'll be taking on Flex Confidence for Super Fight Wrestling.
That's on Twitch.
TV, February 1st at 2 p.m.
And,
right.
2 p.m. bell time.
Can't believe I almost forgot that.
That's very cool.
Well, it's out there now, brother.
Thank you very much.
2 p.m. bell time.
And we, as Jeff said, we are on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Podbay, and Podbean.
Including the Martians and Mars.
Exactly. Facebook /Wrestling with the Future, Twitter at Wrestling Future. You can find me at Psychic Angelo on Facebook.
Yep.
And find Jeff at Jeff Robinson on Facebook. Any questions you have, comments, suggestions for the show, wrestlingwiththefuture@yahoo.com. Give us a holler, give us a shout out. Speaking of which, let me give a shout out to our friends in New York, Mike Monty and Jimmy Farrow.
No. We're not giving them no more publicity. As long as they keep on going at my partner like that, no more publicity for them. They're done. They're cut off.
No, we want their publicity. We just got like a shitload of downloads from them by.
All right, then here's the deal. I want Mike Monty to appear on this show in a debate with me.
Well, I've already extended an invitation for him to debate Evan Ginsberg.
Well, I'm putting it out there. I'll have him come on and face me too. So,
God help us all. On behalf of Vinny the Fixxer, Vince Rosa, and Jeff the Ref Robinson,
yes,
I'm Steve Angelo. Happy wrestling, everybody. We'll see you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.